Mount Jefferson State Natural Area. My name is Ranger Tom, and we're up at Sunset Overlook. And as you can see, there are cars around. There are people exploring the park today. I hope wherever you are after this video, you take some time to get outside too. The reason I'm holding this strange thing here, if you're wondering what is this, well, this is just a reminder to me of what season it is. We have been experiencing winter. Winter's been coming along, and then on March 19th of this year, our planet was at the equinox, and that's where the day and the night are equal. And because our planet is tilted, and our planet does not have a straw stuck through it with a red thing on the top, but just so you can see the tilt, if you can imagine the planet being tilted like this, and it goes around the sun. If my finger here was the sun, it would be going like this. So now to look out here for a second, these are the mountains that are all west of Mount Jefferson. And straight out in front of me is where the sun will be setting this evening. It should be setting right out there between Patty Mountain and the bluff. And then in a few weeks, it'll start setting over here, further to the north, and a few more weeks further to the north. And finally, on June 21st, the summer solstice, it will be set way over there. Then after that, it will start kind of making its way back week after week after week to the fall equinox, and then week after week after week till the winter solstice back on December 21st. And that's a way that we can see from here what our planet is doing from space. So we're here on Earth. It looks like the sun is moving, but we know that actually the Earth is moving, going around the sun. So let that kind of settle in, kind of ponder that. As we go hiking on the trail, we're going to go hike. We're going to see what's out here on Mount Jefferson, and let's go and see what's out there. And first of all, if you take a look over here, just a little bit of a reminder, this rock right here has got a piece of it looks like it's been drilled, and that's where the WPA back in the 1930s actually drilled into the rock and did some blasting to make this road that they built back in 1939. So let's go on back into the trail. So some of the neat stuff you might see here is this big rock, and this is all a rock called amphibolite. It's classified as a metamorphic rock, which means it was put under a lot of heat and pressure a long time ago. Right here where I'm pointing is lichen, and lichens are an algae and a fungus. So the algae is the green stuff that's here, and then the fungus is the black stuff on the back side. And these two work together, and that's called a symbiotic relationship. They live here on the mountain, these lichens, and we sometimes say Alice algae and Freddy fungus took a lichen to each other, and that's what a lichen is. So that's a lichen, and here's some more lichen over here. That's lichen, and then this dark green, that's all moss. And this stuff's all outside. You can see this stuff probably in your own backyard if you live anywhere near the mountains. Okay, well, welcome back, and I am standing underneath a rhododendron. This is a really beautiful green plant. The green, again, it's got all that green stuff that's called chlorophyll. It turns light into sugar and starch, and also makes oxygen, which is really good to have. So this is rhododendron, and it's actually a kind of rhododendron we call catawba. Catawba is the high elevation rhododendron. What do I mean by high elevation? Well, we're in the high country. We're up over 3,000 feet, and catawba rhododendron only grows above 3,000 feet. This mountain is about 4,600 and something feet, so it's a much higher higher plants. This is a high elevation, it's a mountain type of a rhododendron. And while we're here, kind of standing by this big old rock here that's covered with this green stuff, and that green stuff again is called what? I hope you said lichens, because that's what this is. These are all lichens. We've got a little rock tripe here, but mostly lichens and some mosses. But I'm sometimes reminded by an old story that asks the question, how come the rhododendron gets to stay green all year long and all the other trees lose their leaves during the winter time? And the story goes, a long time ago, when plants and animals talked to each other very much regularly, I think they still do, but at this point they talked a lot more regularly, and the plants and animals were talking, and they decided that there was going to be a special contest. And this contest was to see who could stay up for 7 days and 7 nights. And if they could, whichever animals or plants could stay up for 7 days and 7 nights would get a special reward. Well, after the first day and the first night came along, a few of the animals fell asleep. And then the second day and the second night came along, a few more of them fell asleep. Finally, by the 7th day, just about all the animals and all the plants were all sleeping. The only ones that stayed up, that stayed awake, well, the only plants that stayed awake were the evergreens and the rhododendrons and the mountain laurels, like that one over there. These got the special gift of being able to stay green all year long, even in the winter. And all the plants that fell asleep, well, like the oaks and the maples and the different ashes and the locusts, all of those have to lose their leaves in the winter, and they go to sleep during the winter because they couldn't stay up all 7 days and 7 nights. But what about the animals? Well, the animals that stayed up for 7 days and 7 nights were like the owls, some of the deer, bats, coyotes. Those are the nighttime animals. Those are the ones that wander around and explore the woods at night. And that was the special gift that they got, was to be able to be out at night, where the other animals, they have to sleep during the day. So we'll get back out onto the trail and do some more hiking and see what else we see here on Mount Jefferson. Okay. Alright, so this is another neat plant, and these are ferns, and ferns quite often are plants that stay green year-round as well. And again, ferns are green, so if they're green, they've got the chlorophyll. And the back is usually where you look for the seeds. They're called spores, and I don't see any spores on any of these right now, but I'm looking, and they're...
Look here. Here's some.
Okay. Looks like Ranger Vicky might have found some spores. There's some spores. They're little teeny things. They look like little gold flakes. And these little spots right here, those are the spores. So those are the spores that allow the fern to be spread around. See how they go out on the leaves? Those are the spores. And some of them have spores and some of them don't. This one's got a lot of them on that one here. And all of this is right outside, you probably in your backyard. This is right here in Ashe County. And here's some really soft, beautiful green. See this really beautiful moss right here. Very soft, very delicate moss.
Right. So soft.
Well, let's go on down and see what's going on in the rest of the trail. Well, the reason I stopped here, I'm leaning up against a wonderful tree called a locust. And this is a locust is a really, really dense wood. And it's so dense that it first of all, it burns really good in a wood stove, but it's so dense it will even hold water. And if you come over here and take a look, you can see this nice little pool of water here. And this is a bird bath. It might be a spot where a bird might take a drink. It might be a spot where some little creature might come along, maybe an opossum or maybe a bobcat tonight might be walking along this here and take a little drink as it goes looking for a rabbit or something to have for dinner. So here's a neat little spot. I would love to watch this spot tonight, put a camera here and see what's going on and what kind of animals might come up to it. Now another neat thing that grows on these trees that you'll find in the trees is a type of vine, and it's called Dutchman's pipe. And we're going to go take a look at some Dutchman's pipe. With its roots way down in the ground here in this wonderful soil, and I would like to ask you, when you get outside today, if you go out after this movie, go outside and feel the dirt, feel the soil, find a nice kind of clean spot. You don't want to end up any place where if you have a dog or a cat that's going to the bathroom outside and be grabbing a hold of that. But this you can this is a good healthy soil. And the soil is from this rock here. The rock breaks down over time, breaks down, mixes with these leaves, and these leaves all mix with the rock and gives us this soil. That's why sometimes the rock is called the parent material of the soil. It's like this is the parent of this. This is the kind of the baby. This is the parent and this is the baby. So this is the parent material of the soil. So this soil provides really good nourishment for the tree and for this vine that's going up and spinning around and around and around and around. And this plant is called Dutchman's pipe. And there's a caterpillar called the pipe vine swallowtail that eats the leaf of this plant, this vine here. And it turns into a beautiful butterfly. Maybe after the movie you can look up the pipe vine swallowtail and see what it looks like. The caterpillar is black with little orangish spots. I'll see if I can find a picture of one. I might be able to show y'all during this movie. But out here in the woods I don't see any right now, but I do see the food for it in this Dutchman's pipe, growing out of this wonderful soil. And again, connected up to the sun, that star 93 million miles away from us. That's providing all the energy that this forest needs in this closed cycle, this closed loop of energy flowing, recycling, and renourishing. We have lots and lots of different kinds of woodpeckers all on Mount Jefferson. And you can see where they've been looking for all sorts of bugs, all sorts of things here. We also have another bird that looks for bugs on trees. We have two different kinds. One of them is my favorite. It's called the nuthatch. And the nuthatch usually starts at the top of the tree and kind of works its way down, or sometimes it goes up. There's another bird called a brown creeper, and the brown creeper hops along the tree and it goes up and it goes hunting for birds. So now that we're talking about birds, it is nesting. It's getting close to nesting season. It's time for the birds to start making their nests. So I've got an activity for you if you'd like to try this challenge. Let me get the backpack out and see if we can do this. So what you need to do this activity would be a clothespin, would be the best way to do it. Because let's kind of think about a bird. Now, what does a bird have to work with? Pretty much just its beak. That's how it picks things up and moves things around. And so this challenge, if you want to try it, is to make a bird's nest using just a clothespin. So what you have to do is pick up each stick, bring it over one by one. I'm going to make a square bird's nest. And you can't use your hand, you have to use the clothespin to do this. So let's see. So something else I brought in my backpack was this owl here. And we have owls here on Mount Jefferson. I'm not really sure what kind of owl this one is, but it's a paper plate owl. But it's something you could make if you wanted to while you're learning about nature. And you just need 2 paper plates to do that, and you kind of glue them together, and then you work on the eyes. Now the owl's eyes are pretty special. They have really good night vision. They can't see color very well, but they can see really well at nighttime. This one's got a nose on it, but they don't have a very good sense of smell. So you can imagine if it was hungry to eat a skunk, it would be okay to eat that skunk because it can't really smell it so well. So the skunk's not going to be able to spray, and well, it can spray, but it's not going to bother the owl too much. The owls also have ears, and they're kind of lopsided. One's usually above the other or below the other, and that helps the ears or the owl kind of hone in on what it's hearing at night. It might be a little mouse crawling around, and then its eyes will turn, and it turns its head. It can't spin all the way around, but it can turn a long ways, and then it's going to fly very quietly. It's not like a hawk or an eagle that flaps like whoosh, whoosh. The owl is a very quiet, stealthy flyer. So just like that. And you might hear a whee as it eats the mouse, and that's a part of the food chain. So let's think about this. The energy came from the sun and fed the plants. The plants then fed the mouse, and now the mouse has fed the owl. But the owl can't eat the whole mouse. It's gonna try. It gets it in its stomach, and then it kind of spits up what we call an owl pellet. And an owl pellet is this right here. And an owl pellet is pretty neat. This is all the stuff that our owl can't digest. So it spits it up. This one is actually a sterilized owl pellet. And if we break it open gently, we'll start to notice. What are we going to notice here? We'll use the back of the owl here and see what we can find here. Start to notice, hey, there's bones here. There's a part of a jaw. And let's see, what else do we have here? Yep, there's a bone there. So all this material is the stuff that the owl couldn't digest. And it kind of spits that up as an owl pellet. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you might find an owl pellet in the woods. Now, I wouldn't recommend messing with those because those are still kind of, you know, the last place they were was in that owl's stomach, so it's probably not a good thing to go grabbing. But these are nice and sterilized. But we can. When I find a tree that's like this with one of these spaces here, one of these cavities, I always wonder what kind of animals might be living up in there. It's probably not a good idea to stick your head in there, but we could take a look from out here. Trees like this also remind me of stories, and one of the indigenous stories, indigenous means people that were here before Columbus and are still here, and they told a lot of stories. That was how a lot of their information was passed down from generation to generation, and it still is, through stories. And one of the stories that I had heard was a story about an animal called Coyote. And Coyote was, and still is, the trickster. Coyote's a good example of, if you wanted to kind of learn how to be clever, Coyote would be the animal you'd want to learn from. So Coyote was also a little impatient sometimes. He'd get a little tired of waiting around for things to happen, probably like some of us get to be like that. So Coyote one day was walking through the woods, and he was very hungry, and he wanted something to eat, and he was so hungry, and he was like, oh, I gotta have something to eat. He had special, well, he still does, he has these special powers where he could open up a tree, and just like this thing here, he opened up a tree, got inside, and closed it just so his face could stick out, and he could watch and look around for an animal maybe to show up that he could pounce on and have for dinner. Well, he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and he finally got so tired that he decided, I'm just going to get out of this tree and try something else. So he went to open it, and it wouldn't open. He tried it again. It still wouldn't open. So now I'm stuck in this tree. What am I going to do now? So he thought, well, I guess I'll just pull myself apart. So he pulled his nose off, and he pulled his tail off, and his paws off, and his ears off, and all the parts, threw him outside the tree, and started to put himself back together. Well, he's put himself back together, and he couldn't find his eyes. He's trying to feel around. Hello, they got to be here somewhere. That's when he heard the sound. It was a sound of an animal that, really, if you hear this animal, you think you didn't hear anything, and then you're sure you heard it. And that is the sound of the mountain lion. And the mountain lion was walking up very quietly and said, "Coyote, I see you don't have any eyes. I'm going to eat you for dinner." And the coyote's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I've got eyes. I've got special eyes. I can see animals near and far. I am so full. I've eaten so much good food." The mountain lion's like, "Oh, I'm so hungry. Could I please borrow your eyes? I won't eat you. I just want to borrow your eyes." And the coyote's like, "No, you can't do that. I can't give you my eyes." The mountain lion, "We got to be able to work this out somehow." And the mountain lion says, "Look, what if I give you my eyes while I borrow your eyes? We'll trade for a little while." Coyote says, "Okay, that'll work." So the coyote takes the eyes from the mountain lion, pops them in, takes off into the woods. And that mountain lion never saw that coyote ever again, because coyote is a trickster. And when I see a tree like that, I'm always reminded of that story that some indigenous people still tell to this very day. Well, I enjoyed hiking with you today. I hope wherever you are, you get outside and enjoy the outdoors. If it's your backyard, if it's the woods, if it's maybe a park even someplace, or a trail, get outside, look for some of these things that I've been able to find with y'all today. And I hope you're able to come and hike with me again. And until next time, this is Ranger Tom up on Mount Jefferson State Natural Area. Have a great day. See ya.